10 Sinister Rules of the Cursed Alberta Oil Field. Discover the haunting secrets. Expose the whispers carried the weight of 1,000 warnings, tantalizing tales that spread like wildfire through the flickering shadows of the oil boomtown. Sarah had barely settled into her creaky house before the locals began hinting at the dark grips of the cursed oil field that lay beyond the thick, skeletal fences. "Stay away from the light," they would say, their voices hushed. "You don't want to see what lurks in the darkness." It was just a rumor, wasn't it? But the way they looked at her, eyes darting with suspicion, set off alarms she couldn't ignore. As she lay awake in bed, the peeling wallpaper seemed to pulse with the unease of the house. The night air was thick, heavy with secrets unshared. Jason and Lily, her lively children, had changed. Their laughter was replaced with an unsettling silence, eyes glued to the window that faced the oil field, whispering to one another about things Sarah couldn't see. What had she brought them to? Then came the scratching on the door. At first, she thought it was just a tree branch until she saw the symbols. Twisted lines and shapes scratched deep into the wood, each one more foreign than the last, as if warnings etched by the hands of an unseen force. "Beware the light, shadows hold grief," one read. She shivered at the thought, feeling the chill of something darker curling around her. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Every evening, an old workman emerged from the shadows, chanting in a raspy voice that sent shivers down Sarah's spine. He danced among the rusted equipment, moving like smoke through broken machinery. The sound twisted into her dreams, beckoning her closer to the heart of the field. And when Jason started moving toward the window at night, drawn inexplicably by the flickering lights on the horizon, Sarah felt the ground beneath her tremble with a fear she could no longer suppress. What was she missing? Why had the neighbors turned their backs? The friendly boy next door who once played with her children now watched from afar, lurking in the shadows, his gaze growing cold. Panic clawed at her throat. She felt trapped, like a moth caught in a spider's web, and the people surrounding her seemed to weave the threads tighter. The darker it became, the more her heart raced, the creeping dread that the stories weren't just old wives' tales but warnings she'd foolishly dismissed. Somewhere in the distance, the oil field flickered ominously, pulsing like a heartbeat, hungry for something or someone. Just when she thought she could piece together the madness, a chilling truth unspooled from behind the facade of her new life. A trusted neighbor, someone she had shared coffee with and laughed over the stack of bills beside her, was tied to this land in ways Sarah could never have imagined. With every glimpse, she felt the noose tighten around her family. Was the community against her? Or were they protecting something sinister buried deep in the oil-laden earth? One thing was for certain, every night the lights flickered, they whispered a terrible truth. The curse was real, and it was hungry. Would it devour Sarah's family before she could escape? Sarah barely managed to sleep that night, tossing and turning as the whispers wrapped around her thoughts like icy fingers. Every creak of the house sounded like a warning, every gust of wind like a taunt from the shadows outside. She glanced at Jason and Lily, their tiny bodies curled under the blankets, seemingly unbothered by the pressing darkness closing in around them. But deep down, she could sense their unease, their fragile souls tethered to something far more sinister. Morning light did little to dispel her fears. The sun was a pale orb, smothered by a thick haze that clung to the oil field like a shroud. She forced herself to make breakfast, the smell of crisp bacon mingling with her rising dread. Just as she placed a plate on the table, Jason's voice, hollow and rasping, sliced through the quiet. "Mom, the man is here." Her heart dropped. The old workman. She peered through the grimy window, heart thudding, and there he stood, swaying like a ghost among the rusted pipes and derelict machinery. His chant floated into the air like smoke from a dying fire, and the sight sent shivers down her spine. Stay away from him, kids, she whispered, panic bubbling in her throat. But as she turned to warn them, she caught sight of their blank expressions. Jason's gaze was distant, Lily's fingers wrapped tightly around her brother's arm, whispering words Sarah couldn't hear. The light from the oil field glimmered ominously in their eyes. "Why is he here?" she asked, trying to keep the tremor out of her voice. But their murmured response, filled with secrets she didn't understand, painted a chilling picture. "He needs us, Mommy." A chill crept through Sarah's bones. She suddenly felt the weight of the community's silence pressing upon her. What did they know that she didn't? The thought sharpened her resolve. She would confront the workmen today, get answers, no matter how dark. She grabbed her coat and stepped outside. The air hit her like a brick wall, cold and heavy, the scent of oil and decay seeping into her lungs. Each step she took toward the oil field felt like wading through treacle, the ground squelching under her feet as though begging her to turn back. The workman noticed her approach and stopped his chanting. His sunken eyes locked onto hers, and time seemed to freeze. The haunted look in his face was that of a man who had seen too much that should never be seen. "You don't belong here, lass," he rasped, his voice like gravel. "You'll draw the hunger." Fear clawed at her throat, and she demanded, "What do you mean? What is going to happen?" He grinned a broken smile, revealing teeth blackened with age. "The light brings them closer. They feast on shadows and fears." She opened her mouth to respond, but the words tangled in her throat. Behind him, the oil field glowed with an eerie luminescence, flickers dancing like fireflies, steady and inviting. She felt the pull. Just a peek, no, she forced herself to stay grounded. But Jason and Lily, entranced, started to drift closer to the light. "Mommy, we have to go, we have to listen." Time crumbled, and a loud explosion erupted from the oil field, sending tremors through the ground. Sirens began wailing in the distance, mingling with the man's laughter. "What have you done?" Sarah screamed, terror flooding her veins. In that moment, she realized the choice lay before her, to drag her children back to safety or to allow the dark mystery throbbing at the field's heart to consume them all. And as she turned to grab them, the shadows shifted, elongating and twisting in ways that should not belong to nature. Hungry for her next move, can she save her family before the light pulls them in completely? Or is it already too late? Sarah's heart raced as she fought against the magnetic pull of the oil field light. Her instincts screamed at her to grab her kids and run, but the shadows writhed around her, snaking toward Jason and Lily with an insatiable hunger. Time slowed, each second stretching into an eternity as the man's laughter echoed in her ears, chilling and malevolent. "Mommy!" Jason cried, his voice cutting through the cacophony. But she could barely hear him over the sound of her own thoughts hammering against her skull. Within the radiant glow, a shape began to emerge, distinct but shifting. She could almost make it out, a figure with elongated limbs and a face that seemed to melt into the light. Was it human? Her stomach turned. "Get back!" she yelled, lunging forward, arms outstretched as if she could shield them from whatever horrors awaited. But Jason was already stepping forward, entranced. The workman remained motionless, a twisted smile stretching across his face. "They will choose the light, lass," he rasped, pointing a bony finger at her children. "Just let them." "No!" Sarah shouted, her voice raw. She fought her way toward them, desperately closing the distance. "You should be afraid. You don't know what you're doing." At that moment, a tremor shook the ground beneath her feet. The sirens grew louder, almost mocking, and the laughter of the workmen blended with a different sound, soft, but growing, like a whispering choir beckoning from the shadows. It was a lullaby, familiar yet vile. "Children," she screamed, "you need to come back. Now." But the more she pleaded, the more Jason and Lily seemed weighed down, sinking into the depth of the light as if it were quicksand. Their eyes, wide and glassy, were void of awareness, reflecting only the shimmering glow that promised something unthinkable. With adrenaline coursing through her body, Sarah lunged again, this time reaching Jason's arm. She could feel the heat radiating from his skin, a stark contrast to the chill that gripped her. She yanked him back, the shadows swirling vehemently, pushing against her will. Lily, standing only inches away, suddenly turned to face her mother. "But Mom," she whispered, "we're supposed to be here. He says, we belong." Panic erupted in Sarah's chest. "No. You don't belong to him. You belong to me." Fury ignited inside her, mixing with her fear. She gritted her teeth and pulled even harder, forcing Jason back, his body finally breaking free of the light's grasp. But as she turned to reclaim Lily, the shadows pulsated violently, a gust of wind slashing through the air. It knocked Sarah to the ground, and suddenly, she couldn't see or hear anything at all. When the dark settled, a foreboding silence fell. The laughter was gone, replaced by the rhythmic pounding of her heart. She scrambled back to her feet, frantically looking for her children. Lily. Jason. The names fell from her lips like prayers, then she spotted Lily, still standing near the light, her little hand lifted as if reaching for something just beyond grasp. The workman, now melding into the darkness, whispered words she could almost hear, floating on a sudden breeze. "Mommy." Lily called, blissfully oblivious to the danger that loomed. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. She could see the shadows twisting and writhing, forming shapes, a parade of dark silhouettes with outstretched arms seeming to beckon Lily closer. "No!" Sarah shouted, pushing through the darkness, clinging to her, heart pounding as adrenaline surged. Just as she lunged towards Lily, the shadows surged forward, engulfing her child. An electric blue light erupted from the center of the field, illuminating the twisted shadows as they cried out, the sound reverberating into a deafening roar, and then she felt it, a surge of despair sweeping over her. The earth trembled violently beneath her feet. With her blood pounding in her ears, she realized the truth: the hunger wasn't just for the children, it was for her too. As the ground split open behind her, revealing a darkness deeper than anything she had ever known, the workman's chilling laughter echoed once again, filling the air with a sense of terrible possibility. Would she sacrifice herself to save her children? The choice loomed before her as the shadows twisted closer, their claws catching the faint light. Could she fight them back before the ultimate darkness consumed them all? Or had they already lost the battle? The ground shook violently as Sarah's heart thundered against her ribcage, the pain of helplessness clawing at her throat. She could almost feel the dark clawing at her heels, hungry and relentless. As she screamed Lily's name, the electric blue glow pulsated, darting through the air like lightning, illuminating a twisted nightmare. In that moment of despair, everything erupted around her. The light flickered, revealing shadows that morphed and danced like broken marionettes. The figure of the workman melted deeper into the darkness, his menacing smile stretching wider. It felt as if he thrived on her terror, drawing fuel from her anxiety. "Mommy!" Lily's voice rang out, a haunting echo that rippled through the chaos. Sarah turned, gripping Jason tightly, desperately keeping him close, a warm anchor amidst the onslaught of fear. But Lily stood there, frozen, entranced by the bright, seductive light, fingers unfurling as if ready to embrace it. "Lily, come here. Please." Sarah yelled, an urgency pouring from her soul, but the shadows pulsed around Lily, engulfing her like smoke, creeping into her thoughts. The lullaby grew louder, a sinister melody that wrapped around Sarah's heart, squeezing, twisting. Why won't she listen? The realization crushed Sarah's spirit. This wasn't just about rescue. It was an awakening, a choice bestowed upon Lily, and it terrified her more than the darkness. The oil field took on a life of its own, each gust of wind a whispered promise, each shadow a vengeful spirit. Sarah's grip on Jason tightened. She could feel the heat radiating from his tiny body, a stark reminder of what she needed to protect, yet dread crept in. If the darkness had her children, would it claim her too? "Listen to me, Lily," she shouted, her voice raw and desperate as she moved toward her daughter. "You don't belong to this. We have to fight it." As she drew near, the darkness hesitated. It flickered, as if wrestling against the energy of her will. An eerie silence enveloped them, swallowing the sounds of the world around them. For just a fraction of a breath, Sarah felt hope. Maybe, just maybe, she could pull Lily back, but that flicker of hope quickly dimmed as the shadows lunged forward, their grasping tendrils curling around Sarah like vipers. "Let her go!" she screamed, feeling the cold fingers brush her skin, squeezing tighter, unyielding. Jason tugged at her arm, confusion painting his small face. "Mommy, are we supposed to stay?" "No." It was a scream that sliced through the chaos, cutting through layers of doubt. "We need to leave, all of us." The shadows recoiled, as if her words were a weapon they didn't expect. Sarah blinked through the haze of her fear, searching for any flicker of recognition in Lily's eyes. Then everything cracked open. A roar shook the ground, the dark depths beneath them yawning wider, swallowing and churning. The lullaby transformed into shrieks of sheer anguish, the distorted shadows distorting, splintering into a fray of chaos around her. Panic surged within Sarah, and she could feel the fight leaving her bones. "Jason! Run!" she shouted, shoving him to go ahead. But before she could follow, a heavy weight seized her around the waist, dragging her backward into the void. "No!" she screamed, the sound piercing through the chaos. She fought fiercely, kicking and clawing against the probably too real nightmare. In her struggle, she sensed something else, a flicker of darkness that felt familiar, a twisted echo of her own despair, and then, in that agonizing moment, she realized the shadows weren't just after her children, they were after her soul. As she wrenched herself from the grip of despair, she spotted Lily again, staring wide-eyed into the abyss, innocence teetering on the edge. The glow intensified, pulling Sarah toward it as if it held the key to their salvation or their undoing. Would she have to choose between saving her child and herself? The tension built like a storm waiting to break, an ultimatum delivered by the sinister shadows. She had to act fast, or they'd lose everything. But even as she lunged, a whisper danced through her mind. What if she is meant to be a part of it? The truth hung in the air, suffocating and bitter. Could the darkness truly claim them all? And then, just as the shadows closed in, a sudden crack tore through the atmosphere, splitting the air with a lightning flash that felt like Judgment Day. The air buzzed with an electric tension, the crack of energy vibrating through Sarah's veins. For a heartbeat, everything froze: the shadows, the anguished cries, even the glow that drew her in like a moth to flame. She felt the world teetering, hanging between existence and oblivion as the tempest swirled within her. "Run, Jason!" she yelled again, but a veil of darkness began to consume her. Tendrils wrapped tighter around her waist, a grip that felt like ice, stifling her instinct to fight. Her vision narrowed, the chaotic landscape blending into a surreal canvas of terror. "Mommy!" Jason's voice trembled in her ear, but the shadows clawed at her resolve. A muffled sound escaped her lips, a wordless plea for strength that crumbled into despair. Lily's eyes remained fixed on the blinding blue light, her expressions shifting like the tide. Was she listening? Did she even understand the horror unfolding? Then, like a wave crashing against stone, the reality swelled in Sarah's mind. This wasn't merely a struggle against darkness. It was a battle to reclaim her daughter's very soul. The glow pulsed, beckoning with an almost sentient allure. It whispered to Sarah, promising power, freedom, but its seductive charm held a deadly price. The shadows writhed closer, hungry for the fear that radiated from her, seeking to feed off her doubts. "I want to let you have her," Sarah shouted, pushing against the ice-cold coils, a surge of determination igniting within her. With one mighty tug, she wrenched free from their grasp. She stumbled forward, heart racing, but the shadows shrieked in fury, dark shapes lunging from the periphery, clawing at her skin, what lay behind her. Or worse, what had already claimed her precious child. She refused to look back, but the sound of those merciless whispers clawed at the edges of her sanity. Join us, it was a chant that echoed through her mind, both a siren song and a death knell. "Lily!" She lunged toward her daughter, whose small body seemed to shimmer under the glow. From behind, the shadows swirled and writhed, hissing as their grip on Sarah weakened. In that desperate moment, she felt the incredible weight of a mother's love, an unyielding force that pushed her forward. "Lily, you must choose," Sarah cried, desperation intertwined with hope. She could see the conflict in her daughter's eyes, innocent wonder tinged with fear, knowledge wrestling against ignorance. "Fight it." Suddenly, a thunderous crash transformed the air, shaking the ground. A crack appeared beneath Sarah, fissures spiderwebbing out in all directions. Darkness bubbled like molten tar, ropes of shadow pulling at her legs, tugging her back toward the gaping maw of despair. "No!" she screamed, her voice raw. She propelled herself forward, but the infernal glow around her intensified, almost blinding. And for a sickening instant, Sarah felt a stirring pull, a sensation of peace, as if the shadows wanted to embrace her. "Mommy, I'm scared." Lily's voice cut through the haze, but it was the raw clarity in her plea that ignited a spark in Sarah's heart. Looking at her daughter's terrified face, she unleashed every ounce of will. "We'll get through this together." With a fierce push, Sarah dove for Lily, breaking through the flickering shadows, grasping for her daughter's hand. The moment their fingers clasped, the cold contest between light and dark erupted. The blue glow surged, a radiant beacon cutting a path through the encroaching void, but shadows lurked, waiting. A moan echoed, deep and menacing, and the ground trembled, once more threatening to swallow them whole. Sarah's heart raced, and she felt the walls of reality begin to close in, pressing down on them like a vice. "Stay with me, Lily. Don't look away." As she pulled her daughter close, the infernal lullaby crescendoed, shrieks of tortured souls rising in a fearsome symphony, drowning out everything else. But amidst the chaos, a single question lingered: was this the final stand or merely the beginning of something even darker? The shadows swirled wildly around them, desperate, as if sensing their united resolve. Would they triumph, or would this be the moment where darkness finally claimed its due? There was no turning back. The shadows recoiled in sudden fury, hissing as if the very essence of their darkness was threatened. Sarah and Lily stood together, hands clutched tightly, heartbeats synchronized in the chaos that surrounded them. The ground beneath them shifted again, echoing the ominous wail of despair rising in the air. It felt like a chain reaction, a single spark ignited in the depths of the shadows, and it seemed every torment, every sorrow, every lost soul was now converging on them. "Keep your eyes on the light," Sarah yelled, the words a lifeline pulled taut between her and her daughter. Just ahead, the blinding glow pulsed like a heart, vibrant and alive amidst the encroaching dark. The pull from the abyss was corrosive, and Sarah felt the creeping cold of hopelessness clawing at her mind, whispering vile thoughts. What if they didn't make it? What if the shadows held Lily forever? "Mommy," Lily's voice quavered. Fear flickered in her wide eyes, reflections of the blue glow dancing on her face. Sarah could see her innocence still fighting, but the grasping shadows were relentless, seeking to ensnare the flame of childhood wonder. "Trust me, Lily. We can fight this." She squeezed her daughter's hand, an unspoken promise rippling between them. But the earth shuddered, a deep rumble filling the air. Every moment felt like it was stretching into eternity, with panic looming over them, sharp enough to cut. Suddenly, from the thick mass of darkness, a figure emerged, a gaunt silhouette, its features obscured but its eyes glowed with an unnatural light. It lingered at the edges of the blue halo, watching, waiting. The very air thickened with dread, as if the world held its breath. "Turn back," it rasped, voice like gravel. "You cannot stop what has been set in motion." "Who are you?" Sarah dared to ask, courage bolstered by the fierce love for her daughter. The shadows shifted restlessly, and the figure chuckled, a sound that scraped against Sarah's heart. "I am the keeper of this realm, the guardian of despair," it sneered. "Power unimaginable lies within you, power that should belong to the shadows." It stretched a skeletal hand toward them, as if trying to pull their souls into the abyss. "Mommy," Lily whimpered. Fear surged in Sarah's chest. "Don't listen to them," she screamed, rage boiling over. In that moment, the blue light surged. It wasn't merely a glow, it was life, hope, resilience. It rippled like water, pushing back against the darkness, forcing it to recoil, but the figure only laughed, the sound a twisted melody that echoed off the walls of shadow. You think love will save you? Love is weak. It is chains that bind you to this world, mere illusions of power. No. Sarah felt herself roaring, anger now fueling every ounce of her spirit. Love is stronger than you'll ever understand. With renewed determination, she surged forward, dragging Lily along with her. They shot toward the light, but the ground split beneath them as jagged cracks spiderwebbed outward, threatening to engulf them. The shadows hissed, and the figure lunged, a mass of dark with glinting eyes locked on them. It wasn't over. It would never be done until they either broke through or fell back. Hold tight. Sarah shouted, launching them towards the bright beacon, a blinding flash illuminating the growing chaos around them, and then it happened, a deafening scream, a shockwave of darkness exploding around them just as they reached the edge, colliding with the light. The impact knocked Sarah off her feet, and she gasped, a rush of energy coursing through her, igniting every nerve like wildfire. But the world around them warped, blurring. Lily slipped from her grasp. Lily. Panic shot through Sarah's heart like a dart, desperation clutched at her throat. Where was Lily? The shadows were closing in again, swirling less like fog and more like ravenous beasts scenting blood. Mommy. Help. The words pierced Sarah's heart, echoing in the dark. Breathless, she fought to push back against the chaos, knowing that this struggle was far from over. Lily. But just as she turned, the light flickered, and the darkness roared, revealing a terrifying truth. In the center of it all, amid the shadows and despair, she would have to confront what lay ahead, a chilling choice that no mother should ever have to face: what sacrifices would be demanded of her. The air turned colder still, and the whispers grew louder. Join us. As despair surged anew, Sarah realized no offer could hold more weight than her love. But what if love alone wasn't enough? The shadows surged forward, ready to claim their due. And within that hollow silence, one question remained: how far would she go to save her daughter? The light pulsed wildly, casting desperate shadows that danced around Sarah. Lily. She cried again, her voice raw, echoing against the terrible void. The shadows writhed, and for a heart-stopping moment, she glimpsed something, a flicker of movement within them. Could it be her daughter? Breath caught in her throat, Sarah stumbled forward, her eyes straining against the gloom. The whispers escalated, wrapping around her thoughts like a vice. Join us. Embrace the dark. Each phrase battered her mind, a relentless accusation that her love wasn't enough. No. Your lies. She shouted, but the words felt small, swallowed by the expanding darkness. Every instinct screamed at her to turn away, to run, yet she stood her ground, planting her feet in the shifting soil. The shadow figure from before shifted into view, eyes glowing with a ghastly light. You cannot save her, it crooned, voice slick like oil sliding off a blade. All you'll do is lose yourself in this hopeless quest. Sarah shook her head defiantly. I will not let you take her. In her determination, she felt the blue light surge within her, a flickering flame against the crushing weight of despair. Pushing back, she swiped an arm through the darkness, embracing the light. It responded, radiating warmth, pushing against the shadows like a shield, and then, amid the wavering chaos, she saw her Lily, small and bright, just a few feet away, her expression petrified but resolute. Mommy. Lily's voice broke through the noise, the soul of the universe embodied in that single word. Lily, hold on. With renewed strength, Sarah surged toward her daughter, the shadows lashing out like angry serpents. They were relentless, hissing and shrieking as they coiled around Sarah's ankles, trying to pull her back. Mommy. I'm scared. Lily's words were soaked in anguish, a chilling reminder of what was at stake. Rage boiled in Sarah's veins. She ripped her foot free, taking another step forward. You will not take us. Every ounce of fear twisted into a razor-sharp weapon, targeting the shadows, wielding it like a sword forged from the deepest love. But the darkness roared once more, gathering itself into a swirling mass, a suffocating presence that clawed at the edges of Sarah's sanity, whispering promises of despair and acceptance that made her stomach churn. She could join you forever, a blissful existence, free of pain. The figure grinned, his mouth a gaping maw of shadow. Isn't that what you want? No. Sarah screamed, feeling the ground tremble beneath her. I want her to live. A sudden pulse of light erupted from her, emanating strength, forcing the darkness to retreat. It flickered, but flickering shadows were not enough. With one final push, Sarah lunged toward Lily, reaching for her. Time slowed, every second stretching unbearably as they closed the distance. Just as the fingers of the shadows grazed her skin, she locked onto Lily's wrist, pulling her close. I've got you. They were connected, the glow of the light surrounding them, pushing back the darkness that threatened to swallow them whole, but the shadows howled, furious, rising like a storm. Love is nothing but a weight. The voice exploded in their minds, launching them back against the wall of light with a sickening force. The energy crackled, licked by the cold tendrils of despair, but Sarah could feel it solidify as they melded together, a barrier that protected against the chaos. Yet, an ominous weight began to filter through the edges of that safety. Mommy, what if it's not enough? Lily's voice trembled, laden with uncertainty. Reality hung by a thread. We will keep fighting, no matter what. Yet as they stood on the precipice, the Shadow's commander loomed large, its form shifting, darkening, folding in on itself, filling the air with fear. Secrets shall be unearthed, sacrifices will be made. The mimicked words spilled like poison, filling Sarah's lungs with dread. In that haunting moment, she realized the magnitude of the choice ahead. What price would be paid for freedom? A new darkness was rising. Would it demand not just their strength, but something far, far worse? As she held Lily close, Sarah felt the shadows whisper a final, terrible truth: you're only beginning to understand the horror of what you will lose. The shadows contorted, closing in with a terrifying hunger. Sarah felt the air grow thick around them, pressing against her chest like a lead weight. Clutching Lily tightly, the flicker of hope in the girl's wide eyes dimmed as the darkness encircled them. Sarah strained against it, desperately trying to muster the strength she had left. Listen to Mommy, Lily, she whispered, her voice trembling. The shadows twisted, laughing, echoing her concerns. Their laughter resonated deep within her, every taunt reverberating in the hollow of her soul. Love is a weakness, they hissed, a snare that binds you to despair. No. The word burst from her, fierce and primal. Each syllable shot through the gathering storm, attempting to slice through the tentacles of darkness. It's our strength. She looked into Lily's eyes, grounding herself in that connection. But that strength began to fray. The darkness retaliated, its tendrils snaked around them, an icy grip that clutched at Sarah's heart. The whispers grew loud, seeping into her mind like a fog. You will have to choose her life or your own. In her gut, Sarah knew what it was asking. The shadows were pungent with malice as they painted a frightening picture of sacrifice. They slithered closer, taunting her with images of her daughter lost, her laughter muffled by blackness, a child swept away, never to return. Hold on to me. Sarah urged, desperation flooding her voice. She could feel the chill of the shadows creeping in, but a sliver of the light remained, giving her a thread of hope. The barrier around them flickered, vibrant against the encroaching darkness, but how long could it last? Lily, listen to me. Breathe. Find the light inside you. She was grasping, desperate now. They had fought together, but could Lily find the strength to hold on to that flame of light? The moments slipped with each heartbeat, like the sands of time scattering before a windstorm. Mommy, I'm so scared. The quiver in Lily's voice pierced through, a chilling stab that sent shivers down Sarah's spine. Then we'll be scared together, she said fiercely, squeezing her daughter's hand. We won't let them take you. The shadows surged, shrieking in fury as the blue light intensified, a beacon against their malevolence. Fools! The figure howled, its form distorting, elongating into grotesque shapes. You think you can escape? The darkness is a part of you. Without warning, the ground beneath them trembled violently. The barrier flickered again, but this time, it was different. A strange warmth enveloped them, swirling around their bodies, pressing back against the grasp of the shadows. It brought respite, a moment where the shrieking faded to a distant echo. What is happening? Lily asked, confusion mingling with hope. Just hold on. Sarah shouted against the chaos, arms wrapped tightly around her daughter. The glowing light pulsed as if responding to her will, attempting to push the darkness back as tentacles of shadow clawed at their shoulders. Yet as they fought, the ground cracked, split by unseen wrath, and blackness gushed forth. It engulfed everything, including the barrier, inching ever closer. In that moment, over the cacophony of darkness, a chilling realization struck. What if this isn't enough? A voice echoed from the depths of the void, fat with menace. What if you both have to burn? Heart pounding, Sarah froze. The stakes surged higher, fragile hope shattered, replaced by a multitude of choices laid bare before her. Suddenly, the shadows lunged, launching a final assault. The darkness exploded around them, a roaring tide washing over their connection. But what lay beneath that wave? The unknown. The answer lurked, sinister and hungry. What did it crave? What would they have to sacrifice as the black void loomed large, gaping wide to devour their souls? The weight of the choice was suffocating, and in that moment, the shadows whispered again, now more intimately, you have so little time. Choose wisely. As Sarah steeled herself, she could feel the ground shake beneath them, pulsing with the violent rhythm of looming dread. What would happen next? Would they emerge from the shadow's grasp, or would they be consumed entirely, lost in its depths forever? The darkness roared, and Sarah felt the ground beneath them buckle, cracks widening like jaws ready to swallow them whole. She squeezed Lily's hand harder, the little girl's warmth grounding her against the freezing tendrils snaking around them. The shadows pulsed, an ominous heartbeat echoing through the air, mingling with the frantic pounding of her own heart. Mommy! Lily whimpered, terror palpable in her voice, and Sarah fought against a rising tide of dread. Just hold on to me. She shouted, but fear gnawed at her resolve. Threads of despair wove their way into her mind. We can't let go, she added, defiance sharpened in her tone as if to masquerade her own panic. Tentacles of darkness rippled closer, skimming their skin icy, electric. A sharp inhale pierced the veil of shrieks echoing around them. Shadows were coming alive, writhing with intent, and from them, monstrous eyes blinked open, gleaming with a hunger that curdled Sarah's blood. You know love is just a veil, a hiss slithered through the air, a flimsy comfort in a cruel world. The only truth is survival. No, Sarah whispered, fury igniting within her. Love is everything. The haze around her shimmered, and for a heartbeat, the shadows pulsed, retreating slightly. The moments of their laughter, their quiet evenings snuggled on the couch unfolded in her head like a dim film reel, imbuing her with a flicker of warmth. Mommy! Lily cried out as another wave of darkness crashed toward them, a relentless force that sent a chill straight through her. Focus! We need to fight it. Sarah shouted, lifting her chin as the shadows pressed in on them, drawn to the light they clung onto. Lily, think of our love. Your joy is our shield. But it was a dwindling star, the darkness smothering more than mere light. It invaded thoughts, gnawing at her resolve with whispers of regret and despair. Gazes from the shadows flickered and swirled, the anguished faces of those they had loved but lost, haunting echoes of lives undone. Let her go. Sarah bellowed, feeling the weight of desperation press down like lead. You can't have her. Mommy, Lily's voice faltered, pitifully small amidst the advancing tide. A surge of determination mingled with terror fueled Sarah's heart. She could give in. It would be so easy, but then what would it mean? Would Lily become another whisper to haunt her? Mommy. The shadows. They want to take me. Lily cried, panic flooding her tiny face, and Sarah felt her stomach drop. In that moment, a shimmer of warmth seeped from within her, igniting her will to fight. Her mind raced, brainstorming strategies, desperate, but the whispers, they grew louder, surrounding them, entangling their hearts in a cacophony of dread. This is futile, the shadows sneered. You will perish together. Embrace the end. No. The word shrieked from her lips, a lifeline against the encroaching darkness. Sweat trickled down her back, the air twisting around like a vice. Lily, find the warmth. Focus on the light. The luminous blue flared, pulsating erratically within her, responding to her call. Sarah could feel Lily striving to connect, the slightest glimmer of determination manifesting in her daughter's eyes, like a new star being kindled. But the shadows retaliated, snapping ferociously like a pack of wolves. You're both not strong enough for the darkness. It's in you. Another tremor cracked through the ground, the void beneath yawning wider as panic spread like wildfire. There was no guarantee they'd continue escaping this nightmare, the sheen of hope flickered. Mommy? Lily's voice strained, threading through the heaviness, and Sarah steadied her breath, inhaling deeply, savoring what little time they had left. As the shadows surged and the ground quaked, a thought flashed. What if the strength she sought was buried within those very shadows? Lily, do you trust me? A pause washed over the darkness, a heartbeat where twisted silence sat between them. Mommy, I trust you, but what do we do? Her question hung in the air, heavy with uncertainty, and Sarah's heart raced. They were out of time, out of options. The ground began to crumble beneath them. With shadows closing in, a thought emerged, terrifying yet tantalizing. Perhaps to fight, they needed to know not only light but also how to confront their deepest fears. What if we have to face the darkness inside us? Sarah feared the truth, but did they have a choice? As the shadows surged forward, vibrant blue against daunting blackness, they prepared to delve deep into uncharted chaos, for the path ahead was perilous and unknown. And in that charged moment, illuminating a gruesome choice, fear squeezed tighter than ever. Would they emerge transformed, or would they once and for all dissolve into the abyss? The darkness roared around them, a cacophony of despair that threatened to pull them under. Sarah tightened her grip on Lily's small hand, her heart pounding with a ferocity that echoed the chaos surrounding them. You trust me, right? She gasped, her voice barely breaking through the din of swirling shadows. More than anyone. Lily replied, fear and determination mingling in her wide eyes. In that moment, Sarah felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. They had come this far. They had fought together, against the odds stacked against them, and she knew they couldn't succumb now. The shadows hissed, curling closer, each tendril whispering vile promises of despair and surrender. Remember our love, the light we share, Sarah whispered fiercely, her voice cutting through the monstrous whispers surrounding them. That's our weapon. We must face the darkness together. You mean we have to accept it? Lily asked, brow furrowing in confusion. Yes. We accept it, confront it. Only then can we break free. With that declaration, Sarah knew their path lay ahead, a treacherous passage through their fears, but one they could navigate together. As they steeled themselves, the shadows surged forward, hungry and relentless, but this time Sarah stood her ground. We embrace the darkness. She shouted, her voice ringing clear, shaking through the void. We acknowledge it, but we won't let it define us. Lily echoed her mother's sentiment, her small voice rising courageously above the chaos. We are more than our fears. Instantly, the shadows recoiled, as if the clarity of their belief pierced through the depths of despair. The air thickened with unsettling tension, pulling at their souls, but they stood firm. We won't lose ourselves to you. Sarah yelled, as light began to surge from within them, fueled by memories of laughter, joy, and time shared as a family, the messy moments intertwined with moments of beauty. "I see you," Lily declared, taking a step forward. "I'm not afraid anymore." The shadows flickered in disarray, momentarily thrown off balance by the ferocity of their love. That was the moment Sarah had been waiting for, a crack in the darkness. "Together then. We fight," she shouted, their voices echoing through the void as the blue light intensified, illuminating the swirling shadows, now tinged with uncertainty. With a surge of energy, they charged forward, centering themselves in the heart of the shadows. It was terrifying, but in confronting their own weaknesses, something shifted in the atmosphere. Shadows surged, writhing in response, but they held firm and pressed deeper, both terrified and determined to stand their ground. Then came a whisper, more seductive than the shadows they faced: "You can escape, if you let her go." "No!" Sarah shrieked, feeling rage spiral through her. "I would never give you what you want." The shadows hissed, the promise growing louder. "Any sacrifice for your child." The words crashed against Sarah like a wave, sending her thoughts spiraling for a moment. Hadn't she sacrificed enough already? The love they shared placed them in a realm beyond the shadows, where darkness lost its power. "Lily, focus on the light," she urged, squeezing her daughter's hand tightly as they forged ahead. Moments felt like hours as the shadows spiraled around them, but they kept marching forward. They could feel the energy shifting, shadows recoiling from the emboldened light they generated together. And just when it seemed they had no choice left but to succumb, they reached an unmistakable warmth, a vibrant core of illumination. With a final push, they dove into the light, an explosion of energy engulfing them. For a brief moment, every sound faded, and all they felt was the power of their love suffusing through their beings, lifting them above the suffocating shadows. The shadows howled, their essence trembling as they began to dissolve. Unity transformed the chaos, illuminating the darkness. They could see it, a luminous path unfurling before them, leading them toward freedom. "Follow me, Lily," Sarah shouted, and without hesitation, they raced towards the light their own. A burst of euphoria swirled as they crossed a threshold, feeling the chains of despair break away, and then, they were through. As they stepped into the warmth of the sunlit field beyond, the shadows shrieked one last time, fading like whispers in the wind, rendered powerless against the radiant bond between them. Panting, Sarah glanced down at Lily, whose face now glowed with a sense of pure joy, untainted by fear. "Mommy, we did it!" Lily squealed, her laughter like music, freeing Sarah from the weight of the ordeal. "We did," Sarah replied, tears of relief spilling down her face. The weight of dread that had burdened them melted away, leaving only the sweetness of victory. Together, they turned back to see the pulsating darkness recede, realizing they had transformed. They had faced their shadows and emerged whole. With fingers intertwined, they gazed out toward the horizon, the future unfolding bright and hopeful in front of them. "They'll never touch us again," Lily whispered, elation threading through her voice. "No, sweetheart," Sarah affirmed, her heart swelling with love. "Nothing can break our bond. We are stronger than any darkness." As they walked away from the cursed oil field, the source of their fears, they accepted their past but embraced the opportune present, finally ready for a life unfettered by shadows. Their laughter rang out through the air, echoes of freedom, vibrant as the blue sky above them. Now that you've experienced this heart-stopping conclusion, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. And don't forget to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. I'm dying to hear what you think. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. Only true fans know the importance of supporting the channel with these amazing actions.